All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of spooky prophecies out there, the 3 days of darkness. It's this idea that has been whispered about for generations, but right now, with everything going on in the world, it is coming back in a big, big way.
This idea of a world-changing darkness, it isn't new at all. But what's so wild is seeing how it's being looked at through completely different lenses, from ancient scripture all the way to modern cosmic theories. It really feels like it's tapping into this collective sense that something huge is on the horizon.
So, what is it really? Well, at its core, the prophecy is about a period, 3 days and 3 nights, where the entire planet gets plunged into this deep, supernatural darkness. A darkness so intense, some sources say, you could almost feel it.
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The answer completely depends on who you ask. Is this a warning from the Bible, a vision from a Catholic mystic, or is it some kind of planned cosmic event? The interpretations are all over the map.
So, to try and get our heads around this, let's break it down into three major streams of thought. This should help us see how this one core idea can lead to totally different conclusions about what could happen, and more importantly, why. Okay, first up, let's look at it from the biblical angle. Now, this is super important. The exact phrase, 3 days of darkness, isn't actually in the Bible describing a future event. What proponents point to instead is a really powerful and repeating pattern. Darkness almost always shows up right before a major act of God. I mean, just think about the plague of darkness over Egypt. That was this supernatural gloom that literally separated the Israelites who had light in their homes from the Egyptians who were in total darkness. And we see this pattern again and again. The verses you see here from Revelation, Acts, and Matthew, they all talk about the sun and moon going dark as a sign of judgment or some world-shaking event. So for people in this camp, these aren't just old stories. They're a clear blueprint for a future moment of divine separation. Now, our second stream comes from within the Catholic tradition, but, and this is a key distinction, not from official church doctrine. This one comes from various private revelations, basically visions that were given to mystics and saints over hundreds of years. And this is where the details get incredibly specific. The central idea here is that all man-made light will just stop working. The only thing that will provide any light are blessed candles. Believers are told to lock themselves indoors, cover their windows, and just pray because the darkness is supposed to come with plagues and even demonic forces. Now, I have to stress, as the slide says, this is not official church teaching. For Catholics who consider it, it's more of a personal belief, often seen as a symbolic call to have unshakable faith. Okay, and then there's the third stream, which is a much more modern kind of new age take on the whole thing. This view frames the event not as a religious punishment at all, but as a planned cosmic shift, like a giant technological reboot for planet Earth. So here's how this version supposedly goes down. A huge targeted solar flare creates a global EMP that shuts down the entire power grid, all technology, for 3 days. And the purpose? Well, it's to cleanse the planet of negative energy that, in this view, feeds on our technology, and to remove entities they call enemies of the light. After the blackout, purifying rains come to wash the planet clean, kicking off a huge spiritual evolution for all of humanity. Okay, so we've got three very different visions of what is essentially the same event. Let's put them side by side now to really see how they stack up against each other. When you lay it out like this, the differences are just stark. Look at the cause. It goes from a direct act of God to a strategic solar flare. The experience itself could be a spooky, tangible darkness, a world with no artificial light, or a complete tech shutdown. And the main danger? Well, it could be facing God's judgment, literal demons, or just good old-fashioned human chaos. We're talking about three completely different realities here. And all of this brings us to what might be the most important question of all. Why? I mean, beyond what happens, what's the ultimate point of this darkness? And here we see two fundamentally different motivations pop up. So the first purpose, which really covers both the biblical and Catholic views, sees the whole thing as a top-down divine intervention. It's an act of judgment, sure, but also purification. It's designed to protect the faithful, punish their enemies, and kickstart a new age of faith. But the second purpose from that cosmic view couldn't be more different. It doesn't see darkness as a punishment at all. It sees it as a loving, totally necessary reboot. It's a strategic timeout to wash the earth clean of negative forces, freeing humanity to level up to a higher state of consciousness. So, we have different causes, different experiences, and completely different purposes. You'd think these three streams have nothing in common, right? Well, actually, there is one incredibly powerful theme that runs through every single version of this prophecy.
And it's this. In every interpretation, the darkness isn't just about a lack of light. It is about separation. Whether it's God separating believers from non-believers or a cosmic event separating humanity from negative energy, the main job of the darkness is to create a divide. It draws a line in the sand.
There's this quote from one of our sources that just nails it. The darkness isn't random. It's a moment of sorting things out. It separates the prepared from the unprepared, the faithful from the fearful, the old world from the new one.
And that right there is the crucial point. Across every single one of these traditions, the ultimate meaning of this prophecy isn't about the world ending. It's about a profound transition, a great separation that paves the way for whatever comes next. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. If the whole point of the prophecy is about separation, then the focus kind of shifts, doesn't it? It moves away from trying to predict when it will happen and moves toward being in the right state of mind. The real question isn't about having enough candles or supplies, it's about being internally ready. So how would you prepare? Not for the dark, but for the divide.